friends, it's Ashton from the Pea Ridge Library, and happy Black History Month! To celebrate Black History Month, we have a very special guest from the Mosaic Templars Cultural Center in Little Rock, Arkansas. It is Kristen Stanley. She's going to teach us all about African American men and women from our home state who contributed to the field of STEM and created this wonderful world that we know. Take it away, Kristen.
Good morning. My name is Kristen Stanley. I'm the Director of Education at the Mosaic Templars Cultural Center, and we are here today to talk about STEM stars from Arkansas. These are African Americans who went into the fields of STEM, science, technology, engineering, and math. And we'll just give you a quick overview of 3 of those amazing people that came from right here in Arkansas. All right, our first STEM star is Dorothy McFadden Hoover. She was a mathematician from Hope, Arkansas, born back in 1918, and she lived all the way till the year 2000. She loved math, loved numbers, and there she is. She worked as a human computer. Now, a human computer is someone who does math, who computes or does computations, and that's an old term for it. Now we know computers are something completely different, but they're all based in math too. So she was amazing checking people's math, doing math for different projects, and her big project was to work on airplanes. They were designing airplanes that could go super fast. And she realized that if you make the wings more like a triangle, where they were swept back or they were long and skinny, then that plane would go faster. And so she was a part of a great team that worked on that. So what we're going to do as our activity, why don't you grab 3 pieces of paper, all right? And with those 3 pieces of paper, we're going to make 3 paper airplanes, and we'll walk you through it, okay? So I'll give you just a minute. Get those papers. All right, here's our first one. All right, take a look at our second shape. We have one more shape. All right, so just put those planes to the side and we're going to use them here in a little bit to test something out. But first we need to talk about our other aviator. Now this is Isaac T. Gillam IV, and Mr. Gillam worked for NASA. All right, he worked where the space shuttles are, and as an aeronautical engineer, that was his title, right? That's what he could do. He started out as a pilot, but then wanted to go into engineering as well. He was from Little Rock, Arkansas, and he was born in 1932, and as far as we know, he is still with us. So let's see, there we go, there he is. You have pictures of him there with one of the big rockets, and that's Clint Eastwood, actually, a famous person with him right there. There he is in his office, and over here we have him with another famous person. This is Miss Nichols, and she was on Star Trek way back in the day, right? So like I said, he started out as a pilot, and then he went to work for NASA, and he started out by launching satellites, which are, they don't have people inside, right? They just send those up, and then we can use those for different communications, right? Computers, helping computers talk to one another. But then he moved on to be the director of space shuttle operations at the Dryden Flight Research Center. So he was in charge of a lot of different people and a lot of important missions, right, that went up into space. So that's pretty amazing. And let's test those airplanes. Are you ready? Okay. All right, guys. We're here in my home, and I have all three of the airplanes that we made. We have our yellow one, which, if you remember, we folded like long ways, a hot dog, and then folded up. I have our pink one, which we folded fat ways, like a hamburger, and then made the wings. And then we have our purple one, which is our longest and our skinniest. Okay, we folded those wings twice, if you remember. And so we're going to fly them now with this big tape measure here on the floor, and we will see which one flies the farthest. So let's start with our yellow one. And put my foot at 0, and 1, 2, 3. Oh dear, 4 feet. That's what the tape measure says. We'll get an exact here in a minute. Pink one's turn. Here we go. Foot at 0. And 3, 2, 1. Okay. close to 6 feet. We'll get our exact here in a minute. And here goes purple. And 2, 3. See, that's what I'm talking about. So we've got, I'd say 4 feet 5 inches on the yellow. Oh, the tip of this one's at 6 feet, but we've got 6 feet 3 inches on the farthest point of the pink one. And the tip of the purple one landed all the way at 16 feet 1 inch. So, as you can see, the shape of the plane makes a big difference whenever we're talking about how far it flies, how fast it flies, how efficient it is, and all of that is the kind of thing that Dorothy McFadden Hoover studied and did the math for, and then helped the government build those fast planes. All right, and here is our last scientist for today. We have Dr. Samuel Massie Jr., and he was a chemist. He was not a doctor like you go to when you're sick. He's more of a doctor who studied something so much that they decided to call him doctor, right? He went to a lot of school to learn about chemistry. He's from North Little Rock, Arkansas, born in 1919, just a year after Dorothy McFadden Hoover, right? And lived all the way till 2005. So he had a good reason for wanting to go into chemistry. His dad actually had asthma, but he had asthma at a time when they didn't have puffers, right? They didn't have medication that could help him breathe whenever it was getting tight in his chest. And so Dr. Massie saw that and he wanted to help. He wanted to do something. And so he realized that if he went into chemistry, chemistry would help him make medicines for people who are sick. And so he did go on to make lots of medicines. I don't know that he treated asthma specifically, but I do know that he created medicines that helped with mental illness and malaria and cancer. And so he helped a lot of people who were sick and suffering. He went on to do some other things with his skills. He was a professor at the Naval Academy, the first African-American actually to be there as a professor. And then he also went on to be the president of a university, the North Carolina College at Durham. And so he went on to do some really amazing things as well with all of his knowledge. And so we're going to learn a little bit about what he would have known about chemistry. So the very first thing we have to do is put some vegetable oil, some regular vegetable oil, into a tall bottle. I'm going to use a funnel to do that. Let's see here. Run down. Good. A little more. I'm going to fill it up most of the way, but not all the way. That'll do. Get the rest of the way out. And now I am sure that you know, but water and oil don't mix. So I have here some red water, plain tap water with just a little bit of red food coloring in it. And we are going to pour that in the bottle. And what's going to happen is they are not going to mix. So let's see if the water goes to the bottom or stays at the top. So looks like we're headed down to the bottom. So it looks like water sinks. Oil is going to be less dense, so it's going to be above the water. And once that settles down, So these are just some bath fizzies that I was able to use to color the water. But if you have food dye or I don't know, anything that would make the water colorful, that should work. Looks like our funnel is done. And now for our last step, we have these sodium bicarbonate, otherwise known as Alka-Seltzer, right? These tablets, if you've ever used them before, you know that they fizzle whenever you put them in water. That's part of what's going to help your tummy feel better, or you know, to help settle anything like that. But for our experiment, we're wanting to use those bubbles for something else. Let's see what happens when we put this tablet down in and let it sink all the way down to where the water is. It's a little bigger than my bottle opening, so I'm going to have to break it up a little bit. All right, just a few different pieces here, and we're going to drop it down and see what happens. So they sink right through the oil down to the water, and you can see them bubbling. And look real close there at what is happening. We have what some people call a homemade lava lamp, but it kind of lets you know what might be inside of a lava lamp, right? Because if you've ever seen one, you know that it just keeps bubbling and bubbling and never mixes. And so part of being able to make something like this is, first of all, knowing that the water and the oil aren't ever going to mix, and then finding a way to make those bubbles. All of the bubbles that are created down here at the bottom by the Alka-Seltzer or the sodium bicarbonate is taking that water up as a bubble form, and instead of popping like it would in a cup if you were going to drink it, the oil keeps it together, right? Pretty cool, huh? All right, so those are just a couple examples of STEM stars, people from Arkansas who went into the fields of STEM. And if you want to learn any more about that, be sure to come and visit us at the Mosaic Templars Cultural Center. We're at 9th and Broadway in Little Rock, or you can go to our website, mosaictemplarscenter.com, and that'll give you a lot more things that you can learn about and watch to maybe become a STEM star yourself. All right? It's been nice spending time with you. Thank you so much.
If you liked this video and want to learn more about African Americans in Arkansas who contributed to STEM, make sure to find the Mosaic Templars Cultural Center YouTube page linked in the description. Happy Black History Month, everyone. Stay safe.